Today, the bread I will be telling you how to make is semolina. Semolina is a flour made from durum wheat. It is typically found in pastas and has a slightly sweeter flavor than the other flours we use in class, which are made from red, hard winter wheat. The bread we're making uses a pre-ferment, and a pre-ferment is a dough made in advance and allowed to ferment before being added to the final dough, and it adds flavor, aroma, and prolongs the shelf life of the bread. There are 4 types of pre-ferments. The 4 types are pouliche, biga, old dough, or pâte fermentée, and sponge. In this dough, we're using a type of sponge called levain. It is made using a sourdough starter, and a sourdough starter is a culture that utilizes the yeasts and bacteriums found naturally in wheat flour. The culture is fed every day by taking a part of the old culture and adding it to flour and water. This is then allowed to ferment, and the process is repeated. Here's a short clip of us mixing our levain. It's quite sticky, as the hydration is 100%.
Yeah, that's what I was afraid. You want one?
Once the levain is made and allowed to ferment, you can get started on your final dough. First things first, scale out your ingredients. Then you want to choose a mixing method and calculate the temperature of the needed water. Choosing a mixing method is very important. There are 3 types: short, improved, and intense. The short method most closely replicates hand mixing and creates the best product. Fermentation is long and involves lots of folds to help develop the gluten. Intense method is typically used by those who need to make large quantities without care for quality. It's much quicker because you develop the gluten fully during mixing. This gives it a lower fermentation time. The improved method is a happy medium between these 2 methods. It gives the bread a good flavor and a medium crumb. When mixing, you're looking for the gluten to be almost fully developed, but not quite. This is because during bulk fermentation, we're going to fold the dough once. Before you begin mixing, you'll want to find out what temperature you need the water to be. We want the final dough to be between 75 and 78 degrees Fahrenheit, because this is best for fermentation. This is our desired dough temperature, or DDT. There are generally 4 factors you need to account for. These factors are flour temperature, air temperature, friction from the mixer, and the temperature of the pre-ferment or pre-ferments. If there's more than one pre-ferment, you need to account for each separately. You multiply your desired dough temperature by the number of factors, then subtract each factor from this bigger number. The number you end up with is your water temperature. Now you can begin mixing. Here's a clip of us mixing the dough. As you can see, we use the water in the recipe to loosen the sticky levain from its container. We pour all of that into the mixer first, then add the dry ingredients on top, then we sprinkle on the yeast and add the softened butter. We mix until gluten is almost fully developed. sure the sides of the bowl are scraped down to ensure full incorporation of ingredients. This is easy in a spiral mixer as it does most of the work for you. Here we are checking the gluten. It's making a decent window, but it's not fully developed. This is exactly what we want. Now it is time to bulk ferment. We put the dough in a container that we sprayed with water to prevent it from sticking, double checking that the dough is the right temperature. The total fermentation time for this dough is 2 hours, and we fold once halfway through. After the bulk fermentation, we divide the dough into 500-gram pieces, then shape them into bowls. We let these rest for 20 minutes. In the meantime, prepare a damp cloth and a tray of sesame seeds, and then we can begin to give the dough the final shape. You degas the dough and stretch it slightly. Then you take the top edge and fold it to the center. Stretch and flip it around and repeat, folding the top edge to the center. You then fold the top edge to the bottom, using your thumb to help with the fold and being sure to keep an eye on the seam. You roll the dough into a long snake, again keeping an eye on the seam. Position the snake with the seam up. You then take the ends of the snake and roll them toward the middle to create an S shape. You put the S seam down on a damp cloth and then into the sesame seeds. Put these sesame side up on a couche and let ferment for 1 hour. These get baked in a deck oven at 450 degrees Fahrenheit with steam for about 25 minutes, or until they get a nice dark golden brown color. And this is what it should look like when it comes out of the oven. You get that nice dark color, and the dough holds its S shape.